Hello, how are you? I hope you're all doing well and welcome to my channel, uh, Explore with Nanda. So let's see what to explore today. Basically, today's video will be mainly on BDA sites, right? In terms of how is it, first of all, difficult to get a BDA site? And second is in terms of different methods by which you can acquire one. And third is in terms of the documents. Okay. So when I say documents, in terms of what are basic documents you need to have and what are the supplementary documents you need to have of a BDA site. So that's going to be a focus area for this particular video. And I will be doing new videos later, which will be on BBMP sites and agriculture sites and so on. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and to my channel. And this video, if it's useful, give me a thumbs up and share with your family and friends. And hopefully this video will help you also to acquire a new site, a BDA site, right? If you don't have one. So with that, let's get on with the deck and the process, what all is involved. So I'm going to share the screen. Okay, so I put a small deck here, which will basically give you all the inputs regarding the BDA site. Okay, everybody wants a BDA site, but how to get one? Okay, that's a very interesting question. This is something which everyone keeps asking because buying a site, people think it's very cumbersome, a lot of documentation, and at the end of it, still we are not very sure whether we have got the right one, and so on and so forth, right? So, but let's see, what is it so complicated, or it's just that a little bit of awareness and we should be able to get one. That is number one. Second is BDA sites by definition they have a premium tag attached to it, right? So that's something which always people would like to possess. So let's look at the steps. First is basically applying for a site. What BDA calls for site allotment. So what BDA does time to time is that they acquire large parcels of land, large parcels of land on the periphery of the city, and then they develop layouts. So there are a lot of layouts which have been developed recently. For example, the Banshankari six stage, Anjanapura, and then you have the Arkavati layouts on the North Bangalore, and then we have the Nadaprabhu Kempegowda layout in West Bangalore, which is on Mysore Road, and so on. Okay. Sorry. So all this layouts which are developed, obviously there are big ones in terms of 5,000, 10,000 sites running into 10 to 12 blocks, right? So so public like you and me can apply for these sites. So that's one method primarily. Second is the secondary market where you go and buy directly the site from an existing owner. That's a very simple step, straightforward. Third one is via e-auction. Okay, it's a very transparent process and where you get corner sites, intermediate sites, odd dimension sites, and so on. Okay, so BDA auctions these sites to make some money for development. They need funds to develop the layouts and so on. Okay, so this also happens. Earlier it used a physical auction, now it's a e-auction. So the first step, applying for a site from BDA calls for site allotment. So example is here, the last call which happened with BDA was about this Nadaprabhu Kempegowda layout on Mysore Road. It was sometime in 2015-16. It was about 5,000 sites, right? Good layout, well connected. Obviously, it's on Mysore Road, and also the metro is coming very close by. So it's good, and the people have already been allotted, and then some of them have constructed a house, but again, many have not for whatever reasons. Um, so the process is very simple, and there are multiple dimensions of these sites across all layouts. So it's 6 by 9 square meter, which is 2030, and you have 9 by 12, which is 3040, 12 by 18, which is 4060, and 15 by 24, which is 5080 square feet. Okay. So what you do also, there are some EWS, which is economically weaker section, which is people who are earning less than 1 lakh per annum. So there is a quota for them as well, right? Then coming to the criteria. So there are some criteria which you need to meet. For example, one is 18 years. You need to be 18 plus years. Then based on the income, obviously. And then you need to be domicile in Karnataka. That is about 10. Earlier it used to be 10 years. Now it's 10 to 15 years. And then there are categories around which there are some allocations which happens by BDA: backward class, armed forces, sports, state government employees, differently enabled, and so on, right? So general public, typically they have 50%, and the remaining 50% is distributed across all these categories. Okay, that's that's the way it works. Then there is another very important one, which is the number of unsuccessful previous attempts for a BDA site allotment. What does this mean? This is like, for example, let's say there was a call for a layout one sometime, and then you apply and you don't get it. Then, yeah, that's attempt number one, right? Unsuccessful attempt number one. And then again, there's another call by VDA for another layout, and then you apply for that and you don't get it. That number becomes number two, unsuccessful attempt, and so on, right? So that also adds to the seniority. And let's say finally you apply to another layout, like let's say Nada Prabhu Kempegowda layout, and there your attempt number is 4. Who knows, you are lucky, then you might get one, right? So that's the way it is compared to somebody who's applied first time in Nada Prabhu Kempegowda layout, and his attempt number is 1 and yours is 4. So obviously you stand to gain there, and so on. Okay, so that's the way the criteria is around which the allotment happens. So how do you apply? There's an application form being filled up, which you get from all these banks, what I listed here: Canara Bank, Corporation Bank, Axis Bank, blah, blah, blah. So here, these are the banks typically, and you fill in the application, submit all the documents, what is required, supporting documents, right, which is asked as part of the application. And then there is a fee as well, a percentage of amount which you need to pay to the bank along with the application form in terms of, like with a DD or a cross check. Right, so this and submit in the same branch. That's important. Okay, so that's something which you need to do. Now, once it is done, and assume that everything is filled correctly and BDA has accepted it, then what is next? Next is to wait for the result. Result is basically to see if you have got the site from BDA. It's like the exam results. You wait for it to be published on the BDA website. So if initially there'll be a provisional list, and then there's a final list of allottees. There's a sample allotee list here from Arkavati layout. If you look at it, it's got the application details, the name, the category, and then the date of birth, how many attempts, and then the site number, block dimension, and so on. Okay, so this is what is shown on the website. And then once your name is there, then now bingo. So there you have that. Now next is to go and pay the balance amount, which is demanded by BDA. And then again, you get some time, like 30 to 60 days, you pay that. Or in case if you don't pay, then obviously your allotment will be cancelled, right? So that's the payment part of it. So let's suppose you've paid everything and now you're happy that you've got a site. What next? What next is to get all the documents, right? So the documents are from BDA. You get the first document, which is your allotment letter, Hanchike Patra. Now, this document gives the details in terms of the property which has been allotted to you, what number, 9 by 12 meters, which is basically the dimension, amount, and so on. Right? So this is the first document that you get. The next document that you're going to get is a possession certificate, Swadhina Patra. Now this will have similar details, but also has information in terms of the site's characteristics. What site number is that to the left of your site? What is site number to the right of your site? And what is behind, and where is the road? Is it the front, south facing, east facing, whatever? Okay, so those details are there in this particular document. So this is Swadhina Patra or possession certificate. Okay, then next, what do you do? They make a deed. You have to make a sale deed. But the sale deed in BDA is slightly different compared to, let's say, normal sale deed, what you make. BDA has something called as a lease period. During the lease period, which used to be 10 years earlier, but now it's 15 years. So you cannot sell the site. And also there's a condition that you need to build the house within 5 years. Of course, there's some controversy around that as well for Nada Prabhu Kempegowda layout, because infrastructure is not developed, but already 5 years has passed, and people are, asking BDA to extend the time period of constructing the house and so on. Okay, but you cannot sell. Only after the lease period is over, you will be able to sell the site. And let's say the lease period is over, and then you have to make one more deed with the BDA, which is called the absolute sale deed, which is called a Shuddha Karyapatra in Kannada. So this will give you an absolute rights on that particular property. Till that time it was leased, now it's an absolute sale deed. Okay, so once you do this, then you are free to do what you want to do with the site. Whether you want to sell it, or you want to, if you want to construct the house, you can also do a construction of house during the lease cum sale deed. No issues on that. Then the next important document you're going to get will be Kata. Kata is basically an account. So, and then you pay property tax, etc. So, Kata is an account that is issued to every person who owns a property by BBMP, right? So, this is the format what you see here. This is a BDA, Bangalore Abhivrudhi Pradhikara, okay, Kata Patra. So, this is your BDA Kata certificate. Next is encumbrance certificate. Another very, very important document. Basically, it tells you all transactions, shows you all the transaction what's happened on that particular property. So, for example, in this case, you're an allottee. You're a first allottee for that particular site. So, in this particular document, you'll have one line item which says from BDA to you, right? And then suppose if it's BDA to the bank, in case if you're buying the property via bank loan, then it'll be to the bank. And from once you clear, then you need to again get another this thing done, no NOC done, and then there'll be another line item which says from bank to you, then and so on. And then if you sell this to somebody, then it will be from you to that person. So they'll have multiple line items which tells you what has happened with the property over a period of time. So that is EC, encumbrance certificate. This is also true when you want to buy a property. When you want to buy a property, also you need to take up an EC, which tells you'll have to ask for an EC for let's say 10 to 15 years, 25 to 30 years is recommended, where you will know exactly what has happened to this particular property which you're going to buy, right? So it's important to have an EC with you, up-to-date EC. Okay, so that is done, and then now you're complete owner of this particular site. Now what you do, you also have to ensure that you pay your taxes properly to the BDA, because BDA is going to develop the site, place for you to live with all the facilities, etc. So you need to pay tax. So pay property tax. This is a format which you can pay online nowadays, and BDA basically charges tax based on the dimension of your site. Okay, so that's one thing. Similarly, you also have something called a BBMP Kata certificate. When does this come into picture? So over a period of time, when the BDA the layout develops, people start moving in, build a house, etc., etc., and then BDA hands over the control to BBMP, Brihad Bangalore Mahanagar Palike, basically municipal code. So now BBMP, it can be a new ward or it can be a part of an existing BBMP ward, depending upon the size of the layout, etc., etc. Okay. So now once the BDA transfers to BBMP, you need to go and apply for a Kata certificate from BBMP, right? In the local office, wherever it is. And then you'll get a certificate, something similar to what you see on the screen. So that is your BBMP Kata certificate. Okay, and then along with that, you also get an extract. Extract basically tells you in terms of the built-up area, the property, utilization, what you're utilizing it for, and so on and so forth. So these together is actually you have to have one document, and typically this is referred to as A Kata. Also, there is something called as B Kata property, which basically is a registry entry, but not recognized. But these days, even the latest guideline, again, the government itself is recognizing B Kata property and so on. Okay. Otherwise, B Kata property will never get any loans. A Kata property, you get it. Okay, but now I believe there's some regularization which is happening on B Kata property as well. So Kata extract along with the Kata is basically what very important document. Okay. And then again, similar to BDA property tax, what you paid, now you're going to pay BBMP property tax. And there's a sample here, very similar to. So this again, you can pay it on online as well. Okay. And keep it up to date, pay every year regularly so that you don't have any penalty. The next one is to buy a BDA site through a owner, from a owner directly or via broker. Okay, that's a very simple buy process. But here what happened, there's no lease period. Okay, there's no lease periods, which means you can buy, sell, construct house, what not. Now, how do you do it again? You basically identify what you want to buy, which area you want to buy, dimension, which facing it is, east facing, west facing, blah, blah, blah. And then buy, and then start making a short list of all the possible sites, what you think can be used for discussion. And then call them, check with the owners. Also, again, ownership status, if it's an LRT, first, second, or XX owner. The more the number of owners, more the number of documents you need to verify and do due diligence. And if it's an LRT, it's just very few minimal documents. So obviously, this is better compared to, let's say, having 5 owners documents to be verified. Yeah, so that also makes a difference. And then fix a site visit, and then have a look at the properties, and then see which one is most suitable to you, and then go ahead with it. Okay, that's the normal process of buying directly from the owner. Most important here is to meet the rightful owner. Sometimes, most of the time, what happens is the owners don't have time, so you'll have invariably brokers or you will have some relatives and other people who are front-ending the entire activity. So don't make a mistake of parting with some money with them and all. Meet the rightful owner finally when you decide that this is the site I'm going to go for, and then yes, start discussion with them and then him or her, and then make a small token advance before you actually ask for all the set of documents for verification. Obviously, it's a small token advance you give so that and sometimes you don't need to, you get the photocopy directly as well. But some places they do ask for a small token advance, which is about 5,000 change. Okay, so these are the documents, primary documents, what you ask for. All subsequent sale leads, where this is applicable is in case if there are multiple sales which happen, then you have to get all the sale leads. And then similarly, Kata certificates, up-to-date income certificate, property tax receipts, and if there is any bank loan, then bank-related documents. If it's mortgaged or if it's clearance, if it's closed, then those clearance certificate, etc., should be submitted. So take a copy of all this, and then of course you'll have to go. You can verify yourself if you are actually very experienced in that. Otherwise, engage a lawyer. Okay, it's important to engage a lawyer so that the thorough check can happen of all the documents, and then obviously the lawyer will ask for some more documents. Go back to the seller and then ask for those, and then again submit it back to the lawyer for verification. Or my recommendation is that have the lawyer till that complete registration process complete. It really helps. Why? Because it's like another pair of eyes, an experienced pair of eyes with you to scrutinize all the documents, and also they being in the market for a long time, looking at different kinds of cases, they are more experienced than you in terms of finding out if there's something wrong or fishy in the documents what they're being given. Okay. Uh, Also, sometimes it happens that unfortunately that before the lease period ends, the owner has expired, and then obviously there's a transfer which has happened to the spouse. Then in that case, you need to get some additional documents which you need to scrutinize. For example, an affidavit should be there, submitted to BDA by the spouse for transfer of the property. Then there's a family tree. Then there's a release deed by all the children in favor of the spouse. If there's any will which is slightly different, then obviously that takes precedence. And then there's a possession certificate attestation in favor of the spouse by BDA. I'm not sure if they make a new sale, the absolute sale deed, but if it is done, it's good. If not, at least the possession certificate should be attested. And then again, all property tax receipts to be asked for. Okay, this is unfortunate if something has happened before the lease period has ended. Then obviously you'll not have that absolute sale deed from that allottee. Okay, so that's one condition. Let's suppose everything is done and we are good to go. Then I think the next is to negotiate the final amount. I'm saying negotiate the final amount because always there is some room to negotiate. So negotiate hard and then make a sale agreement with all the terms and conditions, clearly calling out all the timelines, like timelines in terms of by when you're going to complete the registration, right? What's the amount you're going to pay and the advance you're going to pay now, and what's the remaining amount which you're going to pay during the registration, and how, in what mode, and so on. Okay, all this will mention the sale agreement. So then you also have to have a clause, which is a two-way penalty clause recommended. The reason is, what happens if the buyer backs out or the seller backs out, right? There has to be some kind of damage to a penalty, right? Otherwise, it becomes an issue. So you need to have a penalty which will say so much of amount will be paid by whoever is backing out to the other party to compensate for whatever loss, notional loss. So that's important. There are cases where the buyer wants to register immediately. In your case, for example, you're buying and you want to register immediately. You don't want any more time, like 1 month, 2 months. Typically, that's the time which is given, depending upon the size of the site. If the bigger site, probably 3 months, right, between sale agreement and actual registration. So, in case if you want to buy immediately and then register immediately, then you can skip the sale agreement. But recommended is to have the sale agreement also, so that it's kind of a documentation, good documentation to have. Complete the registration on or before agreed date, and in case if you have to extend, you can't register within the registered agreed date, then again have a write-up which you sign, both of you sign, saying that you have agreed mutually to extend the registration by probably 15 days, 20 days, whatever, right? For whatever reason. That documentation proof is very important for future. So once the registration is done, get all the original documents from the seller and ensure they are in order. Yeah, so that's where again I told you the lawyer being there, it's going to be really useful. If you're buying property with a bank loan, then obviously you have certain process which you have to do with the bank. Please do that, and then there will be a DD which will be prepared and given to you directly at the venue of the registration on the registration day by the SPOC, the bank guy. Of course, some private banks do give it in your hand a couple of days before, but otherwise, typically it comes on the same day when the registration is happening. And after the registration, the guy actually collects the documents, original documents, and goes back. Right. So then after that, you need to go back to the bank and then do an MOD called Memorandum of Understanding, which is the agreement between you and the bank to ensure which lists all the originals that has been deposited with the bank for safe custody. Okay. And this will be given back to you once you clear the bank loan. So that's the process. After registration, what you need to do? Apply for Kata transfer, similar to what you did when the site was allotted from BDA. Same process here also. But here, because you bought directly, after that, you need to apply for Kata. Then, after a couple of days of registration, apply for EC to ensure that the transaction is recorded. The transaction from the seller to you is recorded in the EC. So that's important. And then apply for the certified sale deed copy on the same day of the registration. This is important. The reason is this is a very good document to have. If you're if you're buying, let's say, the property through bank loan, obviously the original documents have gone to the bank, right? Now the bank guy will give you a photocopy with a seal, a bank seal, and that's one good copy to have. But more than that, better copy to have is the certified sale deed from the registration office itself. For this, what you do on the same day of the registration, you apply for this copy. After a couple of days, you should get this, and this is a very good document to have. Okay. So that's what I talked about. Then the last step is the BDA purchase through auction. So in the auction, what we do is the sample auction, what you see here, the third step. Here, what you do, there is a website where you can actually go and see the auction live, right? So let's go there. So this is the BDA site. Now you can see it's actually a live auction here. So notification start date 21/7/22 July. So it just started. So there is one auction going live right now. So let's go and have a look at it. There you are. Bid now, eAuction notification. Minimum raise of bid price in multiples of 500 per square meter. So that's your step up, Every 500 you can increase. Okay, that's what it is. And there's another condition, as is, where is basis. That means all sites, whatever is going to be auctioned here, which is listed here, will be in the same condition as it is right now. No modification, no cleaning up, nothing will be done. Okay, so that's something which you need to go and inspect beforehand and shortlist the sites which you want to actually auction here. So that's very important, physical verification. So next, first is look at the areas. Now, e-auction, what happens is typically it doesn't consider only one particular layout. Typically, what they do is they kind of club too many layouts. For example, in this, we see Anjanapura, Banshankari, Nadaprabhu, Kempegowda layout, and so on, right? So each of the layouts, it could be developing, or just a brand new layout like Kempegowda, right? And so on. So everywhere there will be some stray sites, corner sites, intermediate sites, or sites with odd dimensions. All this will get auctioned. So you can see, for example, Anjanapura Township 8th block. Now they also see there's something called as initial bid price per square meter, 44,850. Now what does this mean? That means if you are going to bid for this particular site, whatever site here of this particular block, you will have to start with the base price as 44,850. And then multiples of 500, and that's the way it is. Okay. So similarly, for example, Banshankari sixth stage, let's see the amount. It is 39,650. Okay. From there onwards, you can bid and so on. Right. And there are also some contact numbers given which you can contact to get some more clarity if you want to. And also in case if you want to, somebody will accompany to see the site as well for inspection, etc., which is arranged by BDA. So like this, you find out which site you are interested in and which are the sites. You probably shortlist a few sites, 2, 3, 5 sites, depending upon how many you want to buy. You can buy more than one. And let's say you've identified a few, then go back. Then you want to see where the sites are. Okay, so just click here. When you click here, you can see all the sites and the link to those sites. Okay, so Anjanapura 8th block, let's suppose I want to know what's happening in 574, where it is and so on. Okay, so I just click here and there it is. So this is where the site is right now, right? So you can get a feel in terms of what all is around this place site. And then if you want a satellite view, click here. And there you are. So this is a site and this is a satellite view. Exactly. You can zoom if you want to and then see where this is. Yeah, so hardly any houses next to it. Few houses are here, kind of not very well populated. But yeah, I mean, for investment purpose, in case if you're looking at, maybe this is good to have and so on. Okay, so so similarly, now let's go and check another one. Just let's see if something else is there. So at least have some few sites in your list so that you know that gives you that much more flexibility. So let's go to Banshankari, fourth block. So I'm going to click here. So let's see how this layout is. So I'm saying that this is little more developed compared to Anjanapura. So now let's say a satellite image. Wow. So this is little more developed. We have a lot of activity here. So maybe this is a good one to actually go and build a house also. If you see a lot of houses are already there and the site looks okay. But again, you don't know what facing it is, right? Unless you are very, very familiar with this particular area. So all you do is you just go there and then physically visit this. So then you get a good feeling in terms of which facing the site is, and is it all flat and it's not rocky and you know all kinds of things. So you will have some conditions, right, so to buy a site. So see if it meets all the conditions. So that's a physical visit is very very important. Okay. So like this, you can shortlist a lot of sites and then you know come back. Let's go back to the BDS main web page. So let's close this and I come here. Then you also see geo tag on Google Map for eAuction. This is another view which will give you the site number and you know the same location details, a little more detail. Got it. Okay, so there it is. So expand this. Further expand. You can keep zooming in. Yeah, so keep more zooming in. So like this Banshankar is sixth stage. Okay, sixth stage. So let's say this is a site. If you look at this, is a odd dimension site, right? So maybe I don't want an odd dimension site. Let's look at something different. You see, it's all little odd dimensions. Okay, oh, good. There it is. This one. So let's go and check this out. If you look at this one, this is 831. So this looks a little more nicer site. So it depends. I told you know there are sites which are odd dimensions like this. You see, this is an odd dimension site. So this is the view which you get in that Google tag. Okay, so this is something which is there. You can go and actually physically visit this and see what facing is this road and so on. Okay, so this is the way you go to inspect your site sitting in your drawing room. Next is to go and physically see the site. And then after that, you also have to participate in the auction, right? So participation auction is you have a nice video in the BDA website, one in Kannada and one in English. Let's see the English version, right? So now let's see actual bidding process, how it is done through this tutorial, okay? So first is the website which you need to log in. Then you click on the auctions button. Then you're taken to a screen there where you select BDA Bangalore Development Authority, the live auction, search. After that, hit the search button. Then you'll get all the sites which are under auction. In the extreme right, you'll find a green button, which is what you need to click for starting the auction. But before that, you need to register yourself as a user. So enter all the details, what is required, basic details of personal details, PAN number, address, bank details, and so on. Once that is done, then you're ready to log in and start the auction. So now the registered user is logging in. So now you see all the sites. So click on this required site which you want to bid. So there are some general terms and conditions which you need to click and say yes, yes, yes for all these conditions. Yeah, so there it is, yes, yes, yes. Then there is a auction processing fee. So you need to pay 500 rupees plus 4 lakhs EMD amount, earnest money deposit. So each site carries 4 lakhs. So you need to pay, if you're bidding for 2 sites, then it will be another 4 lakhs and so on. This can be paid via debit, credit and online. Right. The next is to upload some of documents, basic documents, mandatory documents like address proof and your PAN card and similar other documents. What is asked there? So upload those documents, supporting documents. So we are there almost. Yeah. So you can also give a false name or a name which to hide your original identity in the auction. So give some name, different name, and then you're ready to auction. Start the bidding process. Some technical, environmental basic requirements you need to have, and then there you are, the bid. So that's a bidding screen where you can see all the bidders with the highest on top. So you can keep pressing plus, and then for every 500 rupees you can step up. On the last day, last minute, in case if there's any bid, then again there's a 5-minute delta time which is given. Internet Explorer is preferred along with Mozilla. For this particular screen, successful bidder should pay 25% of the bid value within 72 hours, excluding the 4 lakh CMD. The balance has to be paid within 45 days. The 75% amount balance should be paid within 45 days. Those who are unsuccessful, their money will be deposited back in their bank within 1 month. So in case if you bid for more than one site, then each site will have to have 4 lakh CMD amount. Right. So you see that it's pretty useful website and tutorial here, which will tell you exactly how to go and actually bid the sites, and it's pretty easy, right? So happy bidding, and hopefully you get some sites for yourself. So let's get out of this one right now. Yeah. So as I said, all sites will be sold on as is where is basis. Okay. So that's the very important thing. So basically a recap of the entire thing, what we saw in the tutorial, right? BDA will send letter for allotment and demand for balance 70% of the site value. Let will deposit within 45 days. Yeah, so there are all the conditions. Unsuccessful bidders will get back their money at amount of 4 lakhs within 1 month's time. So that's more like it in terms of BDA sites, how we can purchase a BDA site, and the different 3 methods what we saw already, and the different documents we talked about, which are important both in terms of buying and for checking when you're buying the BDA site, right? I hope this video was very useful for you, and at least this will help you also in terms of picking up a BDA site very soon. And if it does, well and good, the purpose is served. If you like this video, give a thumbs up, share with your family, friends and families, and subscribe for more such videos. Thank you so much for your time, and good day. Thank you so much and see you again with a new video.